Welcome to the Daily Insider here on Vegas Insider. I am Kevin Rogers as we are set for today's show, Wednesday, May 25th, 2022. The Dallas Mavericks, they are still alive after they beat Golden State last night, 119 to 109. And we're going to talk about that game as well as looking ahead to the Heat and the Celtics. Game 5 of that series coming up tonight from Miami. It is the Eastern Conference Finals, all tied up at 2 games apiece. These playoffs have been absolutely wacky, not because they've been fun wacky, but just because you've had these major blowouts. Last night was a 10-point game, but the Mavericks led by 29 going into the fourth quarter. Golden State outscored Dallas 39 to 20 in the final 12 minutes to make the score look a little more respectable. But the issue was, though, when you look back at what the Mavericks did last night, they end up taking the lead after one quarter, 28-24. They led by 15 at the half. It just felt like Golden State could never really get any rhythm in the game last night. And especially with the way, Luka wasn't even fantastic, to say the least, last night. He had 30 points. He 30 and 14, but I'm saying from a shooting standpoint, 3 of 11 from three-point range, 10 of 26 from the floor. Luka still did what he had to do, but when Dorian Finney-Smith scores 23, Reggie Bullock puts up 18. Reggie Bullock was 0 of 10 from the field in Game 3, and then he ends up putting up 18, including 6 threes in Game 4. That's going to help Dallas. And Jalen Brunson, he only scores 15. Dinwiddie only had 10. If you can get 25 points from Jalen Brunson and Spencer Dinwiddie and still win convincingly, you got a shot if you're Dallas. But again, they hit 23 pointers in the victory last night, and Golden State only got 13 out of Andrew Wiggins. Klay Thompson, he had 12. Stephen Curry with 20. That's not going to win a lot of games, even though some guys off the bench scored in double figures. Still, they missed 9 free throws, the Warriors. They were 10 of 28 from three-point range. It just was a complete disaster for Golden State. Now, granted, they get to go back home and play Game 5 coming up tomorrow night in San Francisco. So at least you get to go back home where you've won the first 2 games of the series and hope that you can just close it out and not have to make another trip back to Dallas, which is pretty much what the Warriors are hoping for. Because if they would have beaten Dallas last night, then at least they could have had more rest, since the Heat and Celtics are playing guaranteed 2 more games, Game 5 and Game 6. Could be a Game 7 back in Miami. But Golden State now, they got to play the extra game and hope that you get this thing done with. Because Dallas, we've seen them. They put up a clunker in Game 1. Game 3 fell apart in the second half. Game 2, we know what happened. Dallas up 20. But the Mavs still hanging around in this series. We'll see if they can extend it back to Dallas, maybe for one more game. But the game goes over the total of 215 and a half, 216. Pretty, it's at 228. You still hit that. 59 in the fourth, 60 in the third definitely helped, because you had a 52 early, which would have stayed under the pace. But then the 57 in the second really helped out. And then the 60 in the third definitely 60 and 59 definitely puts you in really good shape if you were on the over last night. Okay, so tonight you have the Celtics and the Heat in Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And what a change it is when the Heat, they were laying, 3.5, I believe, in Game 1. 4.5 they closed at when they won 118 to 107, in which they had the massive comeback against the Celtics. They had the great third quarter, and they won that game 118-107. Then in Game 2, they're laying 1.5 because Marcus Smart and Al Horford came back for the Celtics. Boston blew them out, won by 25. Then you go to Game 3 back in Beantown, and the Heat ended up having that huge first quarter. They win by 6, 109-103 as 5-point dogs. They're up 21 after 1. held off Boston in the end. Bam Adebayo had a great game with 31, but then the problem was in Game 4, everyone stunk for the Heat. They had 1 point in the first 6 minutes or so. It was 18-1 out of the gate. 29-11 Boston at the end of one. And not one Heat starter scored in double figures in the game. Bam had 9, Butler had 6, Victor Oladipo scored 23 off the bench for the Heat, but it kind of felt like too little, too late, or just not enough too late. I mean, even Duncan Robinson scored 14, and he'd barely been used in the playoffs. But the Heat, though, now they go back home, and now they're an underdog for the first time at FTX Arena in the playoffs. That they were favored in all 3 games, obviously, against Atlanta. They were favored in all 3 games against Philadelphia. And the shortest line they had against the Sixers, they were laying 3 in that Game 5 after Joel Embiid came back for the 2 games in Philly. And the Heat blew him out in that Game 5 and then won Game 6 as a dog on the road. But the Celtics here, interesting number 2, first time they are a favorite on the road in the playoffs. Now, think about this for a second. That the Celtics, who went to Brooklyn for games 3 and 4, they were a dog in both those games. They were a dog in game 3, won 109-103. They were a dog in game 4, getting 1.5, won 116-112. And obviously, all the games in Milwaukee, they were a dog. But now Boston flipped to a favorite going into game 5 tonight. Is a pretty interesting turn. Now, Tyler Hero, he is a question mark. I'm going to guess he's not going to play. It doesn't seem optimistic that he's going to play. Marcus Smart, we don't know his condition. Excuse me. We don't know his condition, if he's going to play coming up tonight. So that's up in the air. It's interesting. The Celtics have had 2 games in the playoffs where Marcus Smart didn't play, and they had resounding wins against the Bucks and against the Heat at home. So Marcus Smart, who did miss game 1 of this series, they lost by 11. The 2 home games he missed in the playoffs, they won big, and they lost the road game he missed. But 3 overs so far in the series. First under came in game 4 in that 102-82 victory, stayed under 206. Now down to 203.5, which was the total for game 1. And the Heat look for the 3-2 lead. The Heat have 2 of the next 3 at home. Win your home games, the Heat will advance to the NBA Finals. Boston's got to grab one on the road. But at the same time, this does say a lot that the Heat, though, are a short underdog here in this game coming up later tonight. Now, let's take a look at the Stanley Cup and Game 5 tonight between the Avalanche and the Blues. Colorado on the doorstep of advancing to the Western Conference Finals, where they would play either Edmonton or Calgary, but Edmonton's up 3-1 in that series. And the Avalanche, just another dominating performance on the road. They went 5-2 in Game 3 in St. Louis, 6-3 in Game 4. And Colorado so far in the playoffs, some of the numbers they've put up: 7-7, 5-5-6. Pretty impressive, even though the last home game for the Avalanche, they lost 4-1 to the Blues. But the Avs, though, in Game 4, St. Louis got an early goal. Colorado, 4 goals in less than 5 minutes in the second period. And they go up 4-1. St. Louis got a few to make it 4-3, but then Colorado with 2, and they end up winning at 6-3. I mean, Colorado's an absolute machine right now. And it's going to be an extremely tall task for the Blues to win this series, much less win 1 game. That for them to win 3 straight against this Colorado team with a backup goalie, and 2 of those games in Denver, that this thing is in the books, to say the least. Now, as far as the other 2 series go that are left, because Tampa Bay's advanced, and mentioned Edmonton's win over Calgary last night, 5-3. The Rangers beat Carolina 4-1, and Carolina now 0-5 on the road in the playoffs. that you'd almost say, all right, you got to take Carolina in game 5 just on principle at home because they've been excellent at home. And then maybe you try to fade them in game 6 at the Garden because they've proven that they can't win on the road. And we look at some of the numbers that Carolina's put up on the road in the playoffs. These are the goal numbers: 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. They have not scored more than 2 goals in a game away from Raleigh in the playoffs, which is kind of an amazing thing that you just can't even get any kind of offense going. One of those games against Boston, they were up 2-1 and then end up losing 5-2. But it's just been a tough sledding for the Carolina Hurricanes. Meanwhile, in Major League Baseball, we'll get to some of our hot handicappers in just a few minutes. Get you updated on some of the handicappers to watch on Vegas Insider. But Major League Baseball, you have a ton of games coming up today. In case you missed it last night, some of the big highlights. Did you have – this is a tough one because either way, you could say you would have got screwed. Did you have the Giants or the Mets last night? San Francisco beat New York 13-12. A game that the Giants actually led 8-2 after 5 innings. New York came all the way back, 9 unanswered runs to go up 11-8. Giants hit a 3-run homer to tie it at 11. Mets got 1 at the top of the ninth to make it 12-11. Then the Giants walk it off with 2 in the bottom of the ninth to win 13-12. So Giants should have won on the run line. Mets should have won the game. Giants end up winning when it's all said and done. So that was definitely a tough one, depending on who you had in that game, or a good one, depending on who you had in that game as well. The Red Sox, they got swept by the White Sox last month at Fenway. They beat Chicago 16-3 last night on the south side at Guaranteed Rate Field. I want to say Comiskey, but still. Boston was up 4-0 out of the chute. They were up 10-0 in the fourth, won 16-3 as plus 140 underdogs, which is kind of an amazing thing that they totally bounce back and they end up winning that game pretty convincingly. Also, Toronto, a good bounce back against St. Louis. They won 8-1. Braves walked off past the Phillies 6-5. Cubs win again over the Reds. So Chicago's won 3 straight. So today in Major League Baseball, I mean, there's so many games to go over. We'll just kind of hit on the highlights. I mean, I don't think we really need a big breakdown of Rockies Pirates. That's coming up in just a little bit. But you have the Mets and Giants meeting up again at 3:45 in San Francisco to wrap up that series. Mets won the opener, and then they lost the second game. Mets so far in the series have scored 25 runs. They put up 13 in game 1 and then 12 in the loss last night. Now, today, the Mets are going to send out, I'm probably going to butcher this one, but we'll take a shot with him anyway. It is Thomas Szapucki, Szapucki. We'll get the name right soon, but we'll say Szapucki. He will get the start for the Mets. He's a New Jersey native, and last season, in his one appearance against the Braves, 6 earned runs in less than 4 innings of work. So he's going to start against Jacob Junis, former Royal, and he's 1-1 so far in the season. Junis, first 2 starts, scoreless outings, and then after that, he not been great. The Giants are 0-2 in his last 2 starts against the Padres. Gave up 4 earned runs there in an 8-7 loss, and then a 4-0 loss to St. Louis, in which he gave up 2 earned runs. So Junis, a short favorite here against Szapucki and the Mets, about 130 range, total of 8.5. And again, we'll see if this one goes over the total on coming up this afternoon at 3:45. The Dodgers and Nationals, they continue their series up in D.C. Julio Urias and Eric Fede on the mound, and the Dodgers offense continues to play well or to hit well. And Eric Fede, who gets the start for Washington, he actually had a nice little stretch or 2-game stretch in which he went 12 innings, allowed 1 earned run against the Rockies and the Angels. Last time out against Washington, or I'm sorry, excuse me, against Houston, 3 earned runs in 4 innings, and then against Milwaukee, his last time out, they lost that game to the Brewers 7-0. But Fede, though, has still been all right for the Nationals in that game against Washington, 5 2/3, but a 7-0 loss. Really, that score a bit misleading because the Brewers broke it open late. That was a 1-0 or 2-0 game for the most part. And Fede went 5 2/3 innings, so we'll see if he can somewhat shut down this Dodger team. We know how good the lineup is, and Julio Urias, he beat the Phillies his last time out, 5 scoreless innings, 2 hits in a 4-1 win. But Urias, though, Dodgers are 1-2 his last 3 starts, 6-1 to the under his last 7 starts overall for Urias and the Dodgers. Now, you have Milwaukee, San Diego at 4-10, wrapping up that series. Padres walked off past the Brewers in Game 1 on Monday. Milwaukee was up 2-0 in that game. San Diego, they came back with 3 unanswered runs to win it 3-2. And then last night it was Corbin Burns with a 4-1 win over San Diego, went 6 innings to beat Blake Snell. And the Brewers now, they snap a 2-game skid with that win that ended San Diego's 5-game winning streak. And now we'll see how the Padres bounce back. Yu Darvish on the mound for San Diego this afternoon. And San Diego, for the most part, off of a loss, at least going back recently, it's been pretty solid. They are 10-0 their last 10 off a loss, and now they're laying in the 135 range, 135, 140 range against Milwaukee. Aaron Ashby goes for the Brewers. He's been a bit up and down, the lefty, and we'll see how he responds today in this series finale. The Brewers are 5-2 in road series finales this season. One of those losses came to Cincinnati as nearly $2 favorites. Now let's see what they do as an underdog. Let's hit on the Yankees really quick. Yankees are 30-13. And New York was at least thought to struggle again this season just because maybe the hitting wouldn't come around or wouldn't stay consistent. Who knows what past Garrett Cole, what they'd have. But the Yankees have just totally taken the league by storm again. And some of the numbers Aaron Judge is putting up for New York, he's in the MVP conversation as well. He should be. And the Yankees, though, for the way they've been playing, last night, the Yankees ended up winning an 11-7-6. Back on Monday, Orioles won the first game of that series 6-4. But the Yankees, though, going into today, they go with one of their young pitchers, J.P. Sears. He gets the start. So far this season, he's 1-0 in 2 appearances. So now he's going to get the start. We'll see if this is a bullpen day or not for Aaron Boone's team. Alexander Wells, he counters for Baltimore. And last time he faced the Yankees, 2 innings, 3 hits, 3 strikeouts. That was a 5-2 loss to New York. But Alexander Wells, he will get the opportunity today as an underdog against the Yankees. You have Alexander Wells and Tyler Wells on that Orioles rotation, so a little confusing. Sometimes you see both of those guys in there. Baltimore's actually been pretty respectable of late, but the Yankees continue to win. And New York, they'll be tested coming up. They get 4 with the Rays this weekend, and then they host the Angels after that. So no disrespect to the Orioles, but it feels like the Yankees have played them a lot so far this year. And again, the Yankees are in the 160 range this afternoon. Red Sox and the White Sox last night, mentioned before, the Red Sox blowing out the White Sox. Lucas Giolito and Rich Hill on the mound tonight. And Rich Hill actually was horrible his last time out against Seattle. He was tagged for 4 earned runs in 2 innings of work, got down 4-0 early. The only thing is that the Red Sox saved him because they came back and won the game 12-6. So he actually got off the hook in that one. Lucas Giolito, who's going to be a heavy favorite tonight against the Red Sox. Last time out, 6-2 loss to Kansas City. Only allowed 2 earned runs. Wasn't that bad. But 3 earned runs his last 2 starts. He's been a strikeout machine, 44 Ks, just 11 walks this year. Giolito has pitched better than maybe the overall numbers look. But again, big spot for the White Sox, try to bounce back. And the Red Sox have played well. Got to give them that so far this season. In the last game, we'll look at the Phillies and the Braves. Both teams are 20-23. Atlanta came back to beat Philadelphia last night. And the Phillies now, they've lost 4 or 5. Back-to-back walk-off games. Walk-off loss to Atlanta, walk-off win to LA. The Braves, they ended up, or right now, they've won 4 of 6, so they're climbing back towards the 500 mark. And after this, Atlanta gets Miami on Friday. They go to Arizona and Colorado coming up. So the Braves have opportunities to get back in the race. Still, the Mets are leading the way, but it's Ranger Suarez and Charlie Morton on the mound. Suarez, 4-2 record, 4.12 ERA. He's allowed 3 earned runs in 4 of his past 5 starts. So he's been knocked around a little bit, 4-1 to the over his last 5. And Charlie Morton's been a little better of late. 3-3 record, 4.95 ERA. And the Braves on a 5-0 overrun with Morton. Also, they are 3-0 his last 3 starts. So that's the look for Charlie Morton, who again had a slow start to the season, but now he'll look to continue his hot streak against the Phillies and the Braves tonight. That game around 155, 160, and that total sitting at 9. So that is the look at some of the top baseball games in Major League Baseball this evening. Now I want to tell you something about our hot handicappers at Vegas Insider. You could check out our selections at Vegas Insider. You can go to our homepage and you go up to picks. You could find expert records. You can go into each of the sports, Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, and go to buy picks. You could find our great stable of handicappers, and you'll see some of the hot handicappers now currently on the site. And start with Jonathan Jorson. He's been on the actually all 3 of these guys have been on the Daily Insider plenty over time. And for Jonathan Jorson, he was 2-0 yesterday in baseball, 6-2 his last 8 baseball selections, also at nearly plus 17 units in baseball. So he's had a great year so far. Also, Stephen Nover, 6-1 his last 7 baseball selections at plus 530 run. Also 3-1 his last 4 NBA and NHL selections. Joe Nelson, who was on last week with us talking NBA, he does everything. He's great at all those sports. 6-1 and nearly plus 5 units the last 2 days in Major League Baseball. So he has really gotten hot of late. And don't forget this too, that we've also started to provide player props for anybody that's interested in those. You can buy those as well, not just sides and totals, which you can purchase, but also player props for Major League Baseball, for NBA. Now, for the Major League Baseball, this could be anything. It could be total strikeouts by a pitcher, total walks, who's going to hit a home run, total outs recorded by a pitcher. So many different props that are available at all of these regulated online sports books. And you can check out those player prop packages as well as just side totals, money lines, those as well. But check out those 3 guys, Jonathan Jorson, Stephen Nover, and Joe Nelson. Those 3, they are on the hot streaks at Vegas Insider. You can find the picks. Go to any of the arenas on Vegas Insider. Go to buy picks. You can check out expert records, all of that there. Check it out today. Also, want to tell you about our friends at SI Sportsbook. SI Sportsbook, currently in Colorado, you're 21 years or older, you can wager at the sisportsbook.com. You could find a promo there if you are a new customer. Again, 21 years or older. Make your first bet of $10 or more and get $50 in free bets. Again, first deposit only, 21 years or older, and it is legal in Colorado. No promo code required. And again, full terms and conditions apply. Here in Colorado, call 1-800-522-4700. Again, 1-800-522-4700. And you could find it there in Colorado. The Sports Illustrated Sportsbook, sisportsbook.com. And we appreciate them being a part of our show as well over the last few months. So, coming up tomorrow on the show, Tom Carroll's going to rejoin me, Tommy Freeze Pops from the Great Dane Nation with Morton Anderson, and he'll be on with me tomorrow. And I know Tom's going to have a lot to say about the Celtics and the Heat. Big Celtics fan, no matter what he says. And that is Game 5 tonight. So we'll review Game 5. Also look ahead to Game 5 of the Warriors-Mavericks tomorrow, which returns back to the Bay Area. And also want to tell you, we have some videos on our YouTube channel at Vegas Insider TV. Juan Pablo Montoya, who was great, he's legendary driver, IndyCar, F1, NASCAR. He's been on all the circuits. He joined me to break down the race at Monaco, the Monaco Grand Prix for F1 coming up on Sunday. And also, he's racing in the Indianapolis 500 on Sunday at the Brickyard. And he gave us a preview of that race. You can check that out on our YouTube channel. Also, coming out a little bit later today, Kenny Wallace, legendary NASCAR driver, he joined me to talk about the Coca-Cola 600 in Charlotte on Sunday evening. Since we have Memorial Day weekend, it's a big day of racing on Sunday. F1, IndyCar, NASCAR, all of that going on Sunday. So we have a preview of all of those races. You can check them out on our YouTube channel at Vegas Insider and get you geared up for those races coming up on Sunday. Again, I am Kevin Rogers. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's edition of the Daily Insider. We'll be back with you tomorrow at noon Eastern. And as always, best of luck with your bets.